I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. Well, many people are interested in politics, especially during an election year like we have, but for some it's a year-round activity and from year to year. And today we're finding out about a special organization, the Silver Haired Legislature. Joining me, we have Norma Scott and Barb Ittner. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
Some people may have heard a little bit about the Silver Haired Legislature, but I think we need to start off with some basic explanation. And somebody walks up to you and says, well, what is the Silver Haired Legislature? Barb, how do you answer that question?
Silver Haired Legislature is designed to advocate for our senior citizens. We help them understand our Missouri government. We promote issues that would benefit our seniors, and we gather together in the fall in Jefferson City and actually have a mock legislative session coming up with some priority issues that we hope actually get introduced into statewide laws.
Okay, so you're the first step before the lawmakers come back in January to say we're going to talk about these issues.
Right, right.
And Norma, I understand that the organization in Missouri has been around for quite a while.
That's right. We were the first ones in Missouri. Our state was #1
in the nation
start
to start
this. Yes, yes. We've been around since 73.
So a lot of years working together, getting a lot of people involved. And each of you individually, I'm curious about your background. What sparked your interest in doing this?
Mine, I was working for Area Agency on Aging.
Okay.
And I went up there, I guess it's 17 years ago. And I realized in working for the Area Agency on Aging, the problems that face the elderly. And they need an advocate. They need somebody to get out there and get this legislation passed.
So personal involvement?
Oh, yeah.
How about you, Barb?
Well, at the time I first started in Silver Hair, I was very active in the McDonald County Senior Center, which was located in Lanigan at the time. Helen Hahn was with the area agency, and she was the coordinator for Region 10. And she twisted my arm, and I twisted the arm of another lady, and we took it from there and have enjoyed it ever since. You do have to be 60 years of age to participate in Silver Hair. So there is a little minimum age requirement.
Right. Well, those are my questions. How are members selected? What are the restrictions? So age, obviously, being one, you have to be 60. Yes. And you mentioned the Area Agency on Aging. So explain how it works as far as the different districts or divisions around the state for selecting members.
We have 10 regions across the state. Each region is to have 3 senators and 12 representatives for the House. Elections are held in the spring at the various senior centers to come up with this number. And we pretty much traveled to Jefferson City as a group.
So a support group among each other,
yes.
Traveling and being together for this. So someone who's watching this program, they live in this corner of Southwest Missouri. Region 10 is serving this area.
Yes.
So explain as far as the geographic size of the region, and without getting specific counties. We're talking about the Joplin region all the way down to McDonald County. So, so people who are watching, if they're interested, then how do they get involved to sort of get on the ballot to say, I'm interested in joining this? Do you go to the different senior centers? What do you do?
You need to contact our Area Agency on Aging. You don't have to go to the Senior Citizen Center. That'd be nice if you did and participated in what we have to offer. But you need to let Charlotte Crum know. She's our advocate for here in this office. And we're just always welcoming new members. I mean, because you get new ideas. And just if somebody's out there and wants to join, just give Charlotte a call and you're welcome aboard. You got to be 60.
Got to be 60 to get involved.
That's the only requirement.
We will have a meeting coming up in the next month or two to kind of get started for 2016. And at that time, we'll start coming up with ideas for our proposals, and sometimes we meet once, sometimes a couple of times to work on those. And we have to have these sent in to Jefferson City by the 1st of July.
Okay. So you're planning your fall activities well in advance of going up there in the fall and having a work session.
Yes, there's.
And what's interesting is we serve on different committees ahead of time. To get these, we will take these bills and we'll represent them in our different sessions. And it's just like
So you're
the
mirroring what
legislature.
happens in Jefferson
Just exactly.
City.
Exactly.
And then from just the small meetings like the Rules Committee or whatever, then you go on and you present them on the floor.
Okay.
If they pass committee.
If they
It's
get out of
just
committee.
exactly it's just exactly like the legislature, and that's what it's fun. It's just like the legislature. And then what's great is you see these argumentative
Debates just like the legislature, right?
We do, very much, because as senior citizens we have definite ideas, and so it's really interesting to watch it and to get different opinions and to get different ideas, and then to go ahead and see that fruition of that bill.
So you're representing this corner of the state. You also have St. Louis, Kansas City. I know when we talk about the state legislature, the elected officials, there's a difference between the metro areas and the more rural areas. Do you find that kind of contrast at all with the Silver Haired?
Region 10 has worked very hard to have someone on the statewide Silver Haired board so we can be heard, have the rural areas represented. Vesta Grindstaff was one of our former members who was very, very active. Mary Ellen Greer has held the top spot in the House.
So this helps you having these representatives at that statewide level.
Yes, it does. It does. And we always have at least one member on the board because each of the 10 regions do, but to be one of the officers is another goal of Region 10, so we have a dual representation.
More up there. Well, I know we have some photos, and as we're talking, I think it kind of helps to help people visualize, and even if it's just seeing members of your group and what's happening. So if our production crew can get some pictures up there, explain to us what we're seeing. Looks like you're right in the chamber right here with your group.
We are in the House of Representatives. This was right after the conclusion of our October meeting. In the back row, we have Helen Hahn, Mary Forbes, myself, Peggy Johnston, Ron Forbes, Ed Hahn, and our newest member is in the front row, Dot Harner. Jerry Williams is our local chair. Then we have Norma and Mary Ellen Greer.
So you travel up there as a group, or you get there together and represent this region then as a group?
Yes, yes. And we have an opening session. The lieutenant governor generally speaks, sometimes the governor and some other officials. Dot and Peggy and Norma are all waiting for it to start.
Studying your materials here. So as people gather from throughout the state, looks like you have a lot of seats, obviously, and here we are listening to your elected officials speaking.
That's right, that's right.
So you're able to then have people who are actually, like I say, running the state, or the elected officials speaking to you because they understand your concerns.
That's true.
And then we have evening meals, of course. Well, actually, they feed us quite well all through the session. And
so you get to socialize and to visit as well as do the work of the legislature.
And we also have meetings into the evening, usually more with our own regions. But,
so there's a lot of things going on throughout the whole time that you're there, and a lot of people sharing thoughts. Do you find that as you're meeting people from other parts or regions of the state that you do have a lot of common concerns?
Yes, we really do.
Definitely, Meals on Wheels. The meals for our senior citizens, that's our #1 priority, and we're all there for that. And it's amazing how we all just draw together on the principal bills that we want passed.
So you do manage to get that type of
we do.
consensus and working together. So the opportunity to be in the chambers where the state lawmakers work on a regular basis and sit at those seats, what is it like to be able to be there in those chambers as a participant?
It's great.
Actually, we're about the only group that is allowed access to the chambers in this manner. In the House, the participants actually vote on the regular voting machines, and the votes are lit up on the
tally board lights up just like you would do.
In the Senate, we're a much smaller
Smaller group.
body, and we simply raise our hands to
I think
vote.
it counted there.
Yes.
Right. But you do get a chance to then meet with the elected officials as
Yes,
well.
that was from our advocacy day last week, and we're actually standing out on the ledge on the second floor of the Capitol.
Looking over the rest of the city.
Right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Advocacy Day, because in addition to your fall session, you do go back when the lawmakers are there working. Tell me what happens at Advocacy Day.
Well, Advocacy Day, we start out with a meeting of our delegates that are able to attend. This year there were 73 out of our 150 potential members. And we had a couple of very interesting speakers. We had a session on the Sunshine Law, because the Silver Haired Legislature does fall under the parameters of the Sunshine Law. We also had a speaker that told us how to advocate when we go around to visit the legislatures. And his take-home message was 3 minutes, 3 things, 3 pages.
Keep it simple and to the point.
And very, very short. And we also had a board meeting to which all were able to attend. And then we go around to the various legislators. We usually divide it up by region to keep the burden,
Spread out the work a little bit.
Right. And we visit with them about our priorities and also some other issues that we follow. And Norma touched on the homebound meals as an important one. Raising the asset level for Medicaid people so that they can stay in their home longer. Currently it's $1,000 for singles and $2,000 for married couples, which when the wind blows like it is today and those shingles fly off,
It's not going to do much.
$1,000 isn't going to put many of those back on. And those are 2 of our concerns. One, which we had a little fun with, and wasn't one of our top 5 priorities, but we were following it, was vouchers for farmers markets, so that our senior citizens can go to the farmers market, have a voucher, attain some fresh produce, and this in turn helps our farmers in Missouri. And while we were some of our local reps were not familiar with it, we explained it. Since we've been there, it has passed the House and is on its way to the Senate.
So this is an actual live bill making its way through the system.
It is. And Norma, you want to tell them about some of the other items?
The exploitation of elder abuse, we're really on that all times, and then the deletion of sales tax on your medications. Circuit breaker laws, we're always out there for that. One of the things that we didn't vote on or wasn't, but that we're definitely interested in participating with, and that we would, is ban texting on any handheld.
All age level.
For drivers or any age, and the Silver Alert combined with Amber Alert, because they do have to do the Silver Alert with it. And in the counties that do that, it's worked out very well, so we want to make that statewide.
So for viewers, explain what a Silver Alert is. That where a senior is missing, maybe somebody who may have Alzheimer's and walks off, we hear about, and things like that?
Surely.
Currently, Missouri does have an endangered alert for seniors, but it only applies to those with like Alzheimer's or dementia, and we'd like to see that expanded to be a little more broad, and also make sure that it is statewide rather than perhaps just local.
So if you were in certain counties, you might get the notice, but the county down the road may not.
That seems to be the current situation, or our understanding of it anyway.
So these are ideas that are being discussed by the lawmakers that then you are following as things are happening in Jefferson City throughout the session and so forth. Have you been pleased with some of the processes and things that are taking place? Let's go back to the Meals on Wheels. I know that that's been a local story, and I'm sure it's local all throughout the state. The support, the funding to be able to provide these meals.
Well, we were cut drastically a few years back, so this is our #1 priority always, and this is our #1 legislation that we want passed. We want the Meals on Wheels.
More funding to provide this service.
Yes, and we don't want to let it go. You know, you've got to, the squeaking wheel gets the grease.
So you need to keep reminding them
yes,
that
we do.
it's a top priority.
And right now it needs a lot of
grease.
A lot of grease because it's not doing very well. Or at least last week.
One of those budget casualties, basically, when the governor and people have to cut budgets in Jefferson City. In the past, it was cut.
That's right.
And you mentioned Medicaid. Of course, that affects a lot of people in the senior category, and people may not realize there are a lot of limitations, a lot of things you have to qualify before you can actually get support for things like that. And tying all of that together. Looking at senior services, just creating an awareness, and we hear so much about the growing senior citizen society right now. Baby boomers are aging. Do you feel that by going to Jefferson City, working with the lawmakers, you're increasing this awareness perhaps with the lawmakers who are in that younger category, that you have this large group of people who are coming up and needing services?
We're 70% of the voting out there. You know, come on guys, you got to listen to us. We do have a voice. And I think you will find statistically that the seniors do get out and vote.
So they need to be aware of that
Yes,
when you're working with them
definitely.
and tying that together. Past proposals, we talked about sales tax on pharmaceuticals or drugs and so forth. This is a lot of these are helping people in the pocketbook, kind of pocketbook issues.
That's it with a lot of our senior citizens. They just don't have the monies. You know, some people are fortunate and have been able to, when they retire, they have an income or a pension, but a lot of our senior citizens just have their Social Security. And that's where our senior citizen centers come into play.
Right.
And the meals there are great. And, you know, we have a set price that if you can, I don't think it's, you know, you don't have to, but if you can.
A suggested price for that meal.
Yes, and there's things and activities for the seniors to do because, you know, you just don't want to sit home and melt.
Right. Now, I know that I mentioned the aging baby boomer age, and a lot of times I've read articles and so forth that some of the baby boomers aren't seeing themselves quite as senior citizens yet. The ones who are,
That's true. We have another program regarding the prescriptions for seniors. It's one that was passed a few years ago and has been refunded. It's known as Missouri RX. This is open to residents throughout the state that are 65 years or older. They do need to have Medicare and also a prescription D. There's an income limitation, $21,660 on a single or $29,000 for a married couple. But the benefits of this program, it's administered by the state. There is no out-of-pocket cost to participants. And what it does is pay half of your deductible and half of your copay on your medications. And the process to apply is a one-page form. You can download it from MissouriRx.gov, send a copy of your Medicare and prescription D cards in. And generally in a week or 10 days, you have the prescription card, which the pharmacies know what to do with it.
Honor that and know what's going to happen. And is it part of what you're trying to do is educate as well then, by letting people become aware of these programs?
Exactly. Because so many of our seniors are not aware of this program. And like I say, it is, there's no fee to them to participate other than mailing in the form. So, and with the higher copays that we're starting to see with the prescription drugs, as well as the deductibles, it's saving our seniors a great deal of money.
Now, when we say seniors, do they have an age requirement for that as well?
Well, you have to be 65 to be on Medicare.
Right, so you have to have the Medicare eligibility.
right, you have to have that. And so if you are unsure about it, and don't have access to the computer, contact your area agency on aging, and they'll explain it in more detail.
I know, Norma, you said you worked with the area agency. There's a lot of resource of information available for people as they hear of things, or maybe they're talking to somebody. Did you know they have this program? So imagine you saw a lot of people just come in. What can we do? What's available?
That's true. Golly, they tell you how to do your will. They help you with a living will. They have facilities to guide you with your nutrition, with your, like she said, with your medicines, with your doctors. We just can facilitate just about any need that arises for a silver-haired person.
And I imagine you're trying to also reach out to maybe the families of the senior citizens as well, the children that may be saying, what can we do for mom or what can we do for dad?
And you know, we have Christmas elves. We try to do, we can't do air conditioners, but we try to do fans in the summer.
Heat of the summer, right.
You know, we really take the interest in the care of the elderly citizen. Many times they can't take care of themselves.
Now, contact information. We have Region 10. Let's talk about how they would get in touch to find out, you know, first of all, the silver hair, what do they need to do? Who do they need to contact?
They need to call Charlotte Crum.
They need to contact Charlotte Crum at the area agency here in Joplin. And
I believe her number's up on the screen
yes,
for people
it is.
to see. So they can
And Charlotte is an absolute delight, and she will tell you the requirements and all of that. Should point out that when we go to Jefferson City, we have previously mentioned we travel as a group, either by private vehicles or in a van. The trip is 2.5 days, 2 nights, all the meals. There is a registration fee of $60. Other than that, everything else is picked up, and I think we have at least one scholarship this year, maybe more, if someone needs a little help with the registration fee.
I noticed on your pictures you had, it looked like maybe some husband-wife teams. Do you find that that's...
Yes, we do. We do have some. Sometimes they stay in the house together, and sometimes they split up and have
one go to the house, one to go to the Senate.
And one in the Senate, and that way we get a little more feedback between the two houses.
Do you find that most of the people who are involved, maybe they haven't had any political experience per se, having in an office, they're just interested in doing things?
That's true. That's true.
And we are nonpartisan. You're not allowed to speak party when you're at Silver Haired. And our members have been very, very good about holding to that. Sometimes, you know, you kind of get an inkling, but
their point of view may
we
lead you to
do not mention one party or during our sessions.
Right.
So.
So as we're recording this program leading into spring, you're getting ready to have the elections for who's going to serve in 2016 and going in the fall then to your mock legislative session.
Yes.
And what committees we're going to serve on.
Okay.
And what's important, and then each region, they have to have a list of what they think is important.
So you set your own priorities in the region
Yes.
to take to Jefferson City.
We send them into the board, and then from there they combine them and pick out the ones that we really need to get done.
So the board has quite a challenge then, as you hear from throughout the state.
Yes. As far as our proposals for legislation, each region is to come up with 7 items to take to Jeff City. 2 are considered priorities, and they do receive more favorable treatment in the Bills Committee, and then we have 5 alternates. And last year, from the 10 areas, these ended up being 58 proposals. That then the Bills Committee met in July and narrowed those down to 24. And then the 24 are subdivided into 4 different committees.
So there's a lot of work behind the scenes before anybody even shows
Oh,
up in
yes.
Jefferson
Right,
City. Just like the legislature,
Yeah.
they're working behind the
Right,
scenes, getting
definitely.
things ready and so forth.
So, and we don't have dates yet for when they're holding the elections in our area or when we're having our spring meeting.
But they can find out if they contact Charlotte. They
Yes,
can get that
Charlotte will be
information
setting
and
those up
and
and getting the word out.
I'm
so.
sure the agency also has a website and they put out a publication in the newspaper and things like that where they
Yes,
can get
we
this
will.
type of information. So, well, what do each of you enjoy the most being involved with this organization and the work that you've done? Norma?
I like that we all realize that silver hair plays an important part in our state and in representing the silver-haired people, you know, and they come from all walks of life. And and like you said, the people from St. Louis will have a different priority and a different slant on things than we have here. But yet it's about all the same. It's about the health and the welfare of the silver-haired people.
And what do you enjoy the most, Barb?
Well, the friendship that you acquire throughout the state is just absolutely amazing. And the problem solving. What we may find as a problem here, we may learn that another area of the state has already figured out what to do, which is a tremendous resource to us for that. And you know, our training manual has the list of all of the silver-haired members, their mailing address, their phone numbers, and their email. And so we can get in touch just almost instantly with these people when we have a question or concern.
So communications has obviously changed since you started in 1973 with the Silver Haired.
Definitely. In 1973, they didn't even have the manual. That came many years later. Also, our manual explains what we do in committees, how a committee meeting is held, and of the 6 items that each committee would have. We vote on those, whether to pass or do not pass them on to our session over at the Capitol. Just like
they do
in Jeff City.
Elected officials and tying all that together. Well, I'd like to thank both of you for sharing information, and someone who tuned in late to talk about Silver Haired Legislature, they can go to the Area Agency on Aging and contact Charlotte Crum and see what opportunities there are for them to get involved. Even if someone's not elected to a position, do you still welcome their input? You know, hear from people.
Oh,
yes.
definitely.
These are my concerns.
Oh, yes.
We really need people's ideas and their concerns. Because there's just a few of us, and the more input we can have, the better the organization will be.
Great. Well, thank you very much for joining me today
Thank
in
you,
the program.
Judy. Appreciate it.
And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us this week on Newsmakers. I'm Judy Stiles. Hope you can join me again next week at the same time on this station. We'll see you then.